Are you kidding me? That is one of the most disrespectful acts I've ever witnessed by a professional athlete towards their coach, one of their coaches.
Are you serious right now? What we just witnessed might be one of the most blatant shows of disrespect ever displayed by a professional athlete, and not just toward anyone, but toward one of their own coaches. You've seen the clip. You've heard the outrage. Then came the headlines like wildfire. Angel Reese suspended indefinitely. To many, it felt like the only logical outcome to a saga that's been spiraling out of control all season long. But what if I told you that suspension was never even real? What if the biggest twist in this entire story isn't what's been trending, but what's been intentionally buried from public view? Tonight, we're not here to just replay the drama. We're peeling back the layers of a viral deception to reveal something far more complex and unsettling happening inside the Chicago Sky organization. We're connecting the dots between a superstar under pressure, a front office that's gone eerily silent, and a critical but overlooked message from the general manager, one that might have been the very spark that set this entire storm in motion. We're cutting through the noise and chasing the truth. And if you're here for what really happened, beyond the surface-level headlines, then hit that like button right now. Because that tells us you're part of the crew that looks deeper. So let's rewind. Not just to that explosive moment, but to the final tense seconds of the game that set the stage. It was July 7th, and the Chicago Sky were locked in a gritty, back-and-forth battle with the Washington Mystics, live on national TV. This wasn't some throwaway game. It was tight, intense, and every possession felt like a war. The Sky were desperately trying to salvage a season that had
walking over to the bench, and she slaps the clipboard out of her coach's hand,
slipped through their fingers, sitting at just 5 wins and 13 losses. And right in the heart of the storm was Angel Reese, absolutely dominating. She played with her trademark fire and intensity, dropping 22 points and pulling down 15 rebounds, another monster double-double. It was the kind of performance that should have been the only headline. But with just 29.9 seconds left on the clock and the score tied at 77 apiece, the pressure hit a breaking point. During a timeout, as assistant coach Ann Crosby held up the clipboard, Reese, clearly overwhelmed with emotion, snapped. In a flash,
it's another day of the Angel Reese drama because she has simply smacked the clipboard out of an assistant coach's hand.
Of raw frustration, she did this. She walks over to the bench and, in a burst of frustration, slaps the clipboard right out of her coach's hand. The Chicago Sky would go on to lose the game by just 2 points, but that heartbreaking loss was instantly overshadowed by one single act. The moment was clipped, posted, and shared across the internet at lightning speed. And
But this is some Bush League lack of respect. This behavior can't happen.
Like that, the narrative was locked in, etched in stone within minutes. It was just another chapter in the ongoing injury drama, only this time it was triggered by a single moment. She smacked the clipboard out of an assistant coach's hands. Yes, that one act was all it took for the narrative to explode. Before the players even made it to the locker room, the internet's court of public opinion had already delivered its verdict, fast and unforgiving. Commentators, fans, and critics wasted no time branding the moment as the ultimate display of disrespect. This was Bush League. A total lack of respect. This kind of behavior? It simply can't happen. And almost instantly, the discussion shifted. It wasn't if she should be punished, it was for how long. The backlash came fast and loud, erupting from every corner of the sports world. While the games continued and players spoke about pushing forward, the conversation online took a much sharper turn. Angel Reese's actions were called completely disrespectful. 2-game suspension minimum, people said. At minimum, this wasn't just casual speculation. It became a public demand. The pressure was overwhelming and the narrative locked in fast. Multiple YouTube channels and dozens of social media accounts started reporting as fact that the Chicago Sky had already made their decision. Rumors claimed Reese had been hit with an indefinite suspension for conduct detrimental to the team. It felt like the natural ending to a string of controversies from a player who already leads the WNBA in technical fouls. And for many people, that's where the story ended. A star player loses control, crosses the line, and gets hit with a suspension. It was clean. It was simple. And it was exactly the outcome everyone expected. But if there's one thing we've learned in this digital age, it's that the most viral version of events is often just the tip of the iceberg. The truth? It's usually hiding in plain sight. While the internet obsessed over the supposed suspension, one very important voice went silent: the Chicago Sky front office. As hours turned to days, their silence became deafening. So what was really happening? Let's cut straight through the noise and dig into the truth buried under an avalanche of hot takes. Here's the fact that rewrites the entire story. As of this recording on the night of July 10, 2025, there has been no official confirmation of any suspension for Angel Reese. Not from the Chicago Sky, not from the WNBA, nothing. That indefinite suspension that had social media in a frenzy? It was never real. It was a ghost story, a viral hoax born in the echo chamber of the internet, repeated so many times it started to feel like fact. But it wasn't, and this is where things get a lot more complicated. Because in a situation this public, this explosive, silence isn't the absence of a story. Silence is the story. It's a deliberate move that speaks louder than any press release ever could. So the question we should be asking isn't, why was she suspended? The real question is, why wasn't she? And what does that decision say about the real power dynamics inside the Chicago Sky organization? Because there are forces at play here, forces powerful enough to override public outrage and reshape the rules entirely. Let's explore the two leading theories that could explain this silence. The first one? It's all about the money. Call it the Asset Protection Program. To understand it, you have to stop thinking about Angel Reese as just a basketball player. To the league and to her sponsors, she's a revenue-generating machine. Let's look at the facts. In only her second year, Reese is already a two-time WNBA All-Star. That alone makes her a cornerstone player, but it doesn't stop there. She was just announced as the cover athlete for the WNBA edition of NBA 2K26. And not only that, she's debuting her first Reebok signature shoe on that cover. Think about what that really means. A signature shoe deal and the front cover of the most popular basketball video game in the world. That's not just stardom. That's a multi-million-dollar brand deal, complete with a marketing campaign that's likely been planned months, if not years, in advance. Now imagine being in the Chicago Sky's front office. On one hand, your star player just sparked a controversy that's dominating headlines. On the other, she's your biggest commercial asset, the face of your team, your brand, your entire franchise. So what do? Do you suspend her for slapping the clipboard and risk upsetting your sponsors, the league and the developers of NBA 2K26? Do you throw gasoline on a fire that might burn away everything you've built? It creates a brutal dilemma. And from a business standpoint, the team's silence starts to look less like inaction and more like strategy. Why confirm the controversy and validate the headlines when you can deal with it behind closed doors, protect your brand, and wait for the storm to pass? This is the uncomfortable reality at the heart of the modern WNBA. On paper, Reese might seem like a distraction, but in the financial ledger, she's an undeniable asset. And when your biggest problem is also your biggest investment, that changes the math. Fans may not like it, they may not agree with it. But to the front office, the equation is brutally clear, and yet, money isn't the only possible explanation. There's another theory, one that's much darker. Call it the power vacuum. According to this line of thinking, the sky's silence isn't calculated. It's a symptom. A symptom of a coaching staff that's lost control, not just of their star player, but possibly the entire locker room. Let's not sugarcoat this. Critics aren't whispering about it, they're shouting it. Tyler Marsh has no control over this basketball team. His leadership is being openly questioned, especially when it comes to how he handles Angel Reese and the chaos that seems to follow. It's a heavy accusation. But is there evidence? Absolutely. First off, Tyler Marsh is in his first season as head coach. He's a rookie coach trying to manage one of the league's most high-profile, high-intensity players. That's a tough spot to be in. And then there's the pattern. The clipboard incident wasn't an isolated event. Angel Reese currently leads the league in technical fouls with 5 so far this season. And just one day before the clipboard moment, after a brutal loss to the Minnesota Lynx, she went scorched earth in a post-game press conference, slamming the officials and daring the league to fine her. That's not normal. That's not contained. And when a star player calls out the league with zero fear of punishment and then seemingly faces no internal discipline, what kind of message does that send? From this angle, the silence doesn't look strategic. It looks like paralysis. Like a coaching staff frozen in place, afraid that pushing back might drive Reese even further away. That's what a power vacuum looks like. And many analysts believe this leadership crisis is showing up in the standings. It's not just about discipline. It's about culture. It's about accountability. And most of all, it's about control. Reality is, if a coach doesn't have control of the team, it's no surprise they keep losing these games. That's what people are saying. So now, we're left with two powerful, competing theories. Is the front office playing 4D chess to protect their multi-million-dollar asset? Or has the coaching staff simply lost control of a team that's unraveling in front of us? The truth likely lies somewhere in between. But before we wrap it up, there's one final piece that connects both of these narratives: the money and the chaos. And it's a detail most people completely missed in the aftermath of the clipboard moment. According to insider reports, just before these recent outbursts, Chicago Sky general manager Jeff Pagliocca had directly warned Angel Reese, telling her the team needed more production. Let's pause and unpack that. More production from a player averaging nearly 13 points and 13 rebounds per game. A player setting records for consecutive 15-rebound games. A player who, on the night of the incident, dropped 22 points and 15 boards. When your front office tells a player already carrying the statistical weight of a struggling 5-13 team that what she's doing still isn't enough, you don't just add pressure. You weaponize it. Suddenly, the frustration we saw on the court wasn't just about losing a tough game. It was about carrying a franchise on her back, while being told by the very people running it that she needs to carry even more. That kind of message in a high-stakes environment doesn't excuse slapping a clipboard, but it does explain how emotions reached such a dangerous boiling point. And that leads us to Reese's own words after the incident. In a now viral post on X, she wrote, "Those blank were pissing me off. Shout out to Anne because she knew it was the heat of the moment, and she didn't let me apologize because she knew. Not happening again though." Now on the surface that may sound like an apology, but the key phrase for any narrative analyst is this: she knew. That statement implies that assistant coach Ann Crosby, the person directly involved, understood the context. It suggests that the incident was resolved privately between two professionals in the heat of competition. And while the world screamed for punishments and suspensions, what actually happened on the inside was a moment of clarity and closure. A situation settled internally while the internet spun it into something much more scandalous. Yes, slapping a clipboard is not a good look. Yes, Angel Reese is supposed to be a role model and a leader for young athletes around the world. But the contradiction between her public support for the team and her private frustration under immense pressure defines not only this moment, but her entire season. And now we reach the final, unavoidable conclusion. When you connect all the dots, here's what we see. The story of Angel Reese's indefinite suspension was a complete hoax, a piece of viral fiction that distracted everyone from the much more important truth. This was never about a single act of disrespect. It's about a franchise caught in a perfect storm, a team struggling to protect its biggest financial asset, while wrestling with a deep, unresolved leadership crisis out the silence from the Chicago sky. Wasn't leading up to punishment, it was the punishment. It was the red flag of organizational paralysis. A rookie head coach, a star player under unbearable pressure, and a front office pushing too hard, all locked in a slow-motion collision. The clipboard slap wasn't the crime. It was the symptom of a team slowly cracking at the seams. So now, we want to hear from you. Who do you think is truly at fault for the chaos unfolding in Chicago? Is it Angel Reese for letting frustration boil over? Is it head coach Tyler Marsh for failing to take control? Or is it the general manager for placing impossible expectations on a player already doing everything she can? Drop your theory in the comments below. We'll be tracking every move the Sky make, from trade rumors to the next sideline outburst, because the real story is still unfolding. So if you want to stay ahead of the headlines and get the facts, not the fiction, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. And finally, if this video helped you see the deeper game being played, share it with another one Bay fan who's tired of hot takes and wants real analysis. Help us keep filtering out the noise so we can get to the truth.